Well, welcome to Technology and Education. Today I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford. And today we're talking about the use of video within e-learning environments. And there are pros and cons, but one of the first things I'd like to talk about are different reasons behind the integration of video into courses.
Okay. You're
Whee! I'm in control! So, I was reading this little article about pros and cons and the reasoning behind integrating video, and a couple of them bothered me. And the first one that I found intriguing was the idea of using videos to lessen the amount of reading expected of the student. That drove me crazy.
That drove you crazy?
That drove me crazy. What do you mean reducing the amount of reading that a student is doing within a course environment? The basic knowledge, there's nothing wrong with video integration. But replacing the textual information with a video display is concerning to me because I imagine that video is not only for knowledge attainment, but also discussing the information at higher levels of thinking and reasoning, enhancing the discussion instead of, well, here's the knowledge. No! What's your thought? Subtle? No!
Well, these days students really hate to read, so why don't we just simply cater to their...
I have met a student like that. Someone walked into my office one day and was very upset with me that I had readings from a book and readings from the web, journal articles and such. And she's like, I did my undergraduate and I never had to read. What are you doing? Why can't I just watch a video? I was like, oh, maybe this program isn't for you.
Well, as a side effect, I mean, really, people had to read because television hadn't been invented thousands of years ago. So they had to,
I loved reading growing up. You were lost in the information and the storyline, and there's so few great storytellers these days.
Yeah, because now we have video. You can just watch the whole thing on video. Things explode and...
Yes, well, that's not really a storyline. That's just...
Yeah, I think overabundance, over-reliance on video sort of obviously negates the need for reading in a
Nor
course.
Reasoning. Let's consider including that as well.
I think really...
Critical thinking, critical analysis is vitally important, and I understand that a knowledge base is important, of course, and then enhancing the knowledge base through maybe video-based discussions and reasonings like what you and I do.
Well, a video-based discussion in the form of perhaps a video conference. Is that what you're talking about?
Or what you and I are doing, just batting back and forth different ideas. Like the idea of not mandating the readings, the knowledge-based readings in order to attain a baseline level of information and just say, oh, well, go watch this video. What? What?
Well,
I don't come from that generation. I don't understand.
Well, I don't. It's kind of rare when a video can cover everything unless you have a talking head providing all the information that you would find in the book.
And what's the difference other than you can't read?
Right. So that is kind of a misuse of video. I think essentially what needs to be understood about the use of video is that essentially video shows a story, and reading
Except for when people cough. Pardon me.
Reading tells a story. So in other words, when you read, you
receive the nuances
yes,
of the spoken word and the written word.
You don't have a picture, so you're telling and you're describing and so on and so forth. But with video or film, it's dependent upon something being shown. So if you're simply showing a talking head, it doesn't really work. There has to be something besides the talking head. Now, you'll notice a lot of MOOCs, essentially, it's 20 minutes of a talking head.
Massive Open Online Course?
Yes.
Okay.
It's essentially about 15 to 20 minutes of class time devoted to a professor giving a lecture.
Wow, that would put anybody to sleep.
And
that puts me to sleep as the instructor.
Well, if they're if they're a good lecturer, yeah, it works. But on the other hand, certainly, why would you need all that equipment if you could send out a book to somebody or some reading assignments. But people these days, students these
Fair
days,
question.
they're used
Being coddled?
to being coddled and to watching videos.
Well,
But
and to a certain extent, there's nothing wrong with the videos, but
well, if you,
being expected to obtain necessary knowledge
if you're
from
showing
a video
if you're,
versus
yeah, if you're showing
other
something,
means.
if you're showing something in the video, then it's a very appropriate use. If you're showing
like in a science experiment, with
exactly
procedures to follow.
if you're showing that, exactly correct.
Actually, that's a good point. The demonstration component, how to or procedural type information.
If you're stepping out a math problem, solving a math problem, essentially that's a video where you're doing a math problem.
And thinking
makes,
it through,
makes,
talking it
makes
through
sense.
at the same time.
But
like a strong mathematics educator or statistician would.
But simply lecture
You hear
after
them talking at the same time as they're actually working it through.
lecture in an online course, I think is counterproductive unless the lecturer is excellent, unless that person really has good acting abilities, and you don't have that many people who are teachers or instructors who can do that. The majority
Well, you're
are not.
good. You're engaging. Me, not so much.
I think you're pretty engaging, but the bottom line is that it's really tricky to produce this stuff. You just simply cannot start lecturing towards the camera and expect something wonderful to occur.
But that is a great point. The reasoning behind why there is a video integrated. Are you demonstrating something? Is it a how-to? What is the reason? Is it just to have a video? Because then we start getting into issues of access, download time. And I didn't, for many years, we've been doing this, 15 years now? For many years, I didn't integrate any videos because most people were on dial-up at home, and it took forever to obtain, to be able to download access to video.
Most of that is gone now.
Most of that is gone now, yes, which is why I
But
started
I'll tell you some, in my opinion, what two very good uses for video are. One is video conferencing. If you have a true video conferencing system, I don't mean one to many, I mean many to many, so that you can see your entire class, let's say entire class, 10 to 15 people on the screen, everybody can see each other and they can communicate.
And you can capture that.
And also capture it. Yes, I think that is a good use of video, although it complicates an online course tremendously to get everybody
The
to be on.
concept of an asynchronous online course, anytime, anywhere you can access, and then mandating a synchronous
Right,
activity
it
where you
becomes
have to
very
show up at a
complicated,
certain
yes.
space and time. Especially when people are traveling and they have lives that are going on, careers, families. Not everyone can meet at that time, which is why the recording is so important, as well as for special needs.
But you don't want everybody to see.
concerns.
The other thing is you don't want everybody to opt out and say, "Oh, well, I'll watch the recording."
Right.
So that's how we get complicated in video discussion types of things in an online course. But the other thing I think where a very good application of video is, if you are the sole instructor of that course, is to use a video introduction, a brief one at the beginning of the course, and on every lesson you can say, "This is an overview of the lesson, and this is what the objectives of the lesson are," and so on and so forth. So it sort of humanizes the course. I think that's a very appropriate use of
I did that for
video.
a couple of online courses. I had such great feedback about it. It was like a pseudo lecture. Yes, this is what we're doing in this unit of instruction, and
Right.
here are the main points, blah, blah, blah.
The problem comes if somebody else other than you is going to teach that course either the
Right.
same semester or in succeeding semesters.
It's so obvious that it's
Yes.
you on the video.
Right.
It's your audio. It's your face. And the ownership of the other instructor is lacking.
That's right. That's exactly right. So
Why, thank you. Well, what about emphasizing important concepts or important points? We touched on this. We suggested it a little bit earlier in our chat, but what about emphasizing those aspects?
well, I'll tell you the truth. I go for bold print. And I think we've actually reached the end of this edition.
Have we?
Yes, we'll end on bold print, a bold statement.
For a video discussion. That's great.
For technology and education today, I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford. Bye.